Alright, it's end of the year list time. That means today I rank the 7 comic book movies of 2024 I saw. Alright, before we get started, please make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell, and comment down below what is your opinions on all the comic book movies that released this year. I've only seen 7. I missed out on Hellboy the Crooked Man, and a couple other movies on this list as well that I also missed out on that you guys might have seen. So rank them all down below. Tell me what you thought of them. A couple things. Obviously, I sound really weird. It's because I'm sick. I'm very sick today. But it's end of the year list. I really have to get this video out this week. So we're not going to spend too much time talking about these movies because we got the live stream ranking coming in a couple of days. And then we got the best and worst video coming in a couple of days as well. So that will be the schedule for this week. And with that said, subscribe, like button, hit the bell, comment down below. And we're going to jump right into this with number 7, my least favorite comic book movie of the year. That would belong to The Crow. This and my number 6, I'd say, are the most frustrated I have been at movies in the year of 2024. This one because it's a bad movie in general. You somehow had to make it worse by making it making it the character from the first one that Brandon Lee played and died in that role, and you had to make it Eric Draven. Not Eric Craven, Eric Draven. So anything that could have been, make this a good movie, they decided not to do that anyways. It's already a bad movie. But naming off the titular character that was Brandon Lee, who got shot in the middle of filming that first movie, and just kind of disrespecting by that, making it a bad movie, that's kind of a no-go for me. I'm not a fan of the original Crow. I've never seen it, but it's still a no-go for me, and it should be a no-go from everybody on that. And it's not like it has anything worth it. It's really not worth it whatsoever. It's really a bad movie. From the very beginning, it decides to focus on this romance between Bill Skarsgård, who is not very good in this movie. He played Nosferatu earlier this year, and he was fantastic in that movie. He's not good in here as the Crow because he's just kind of phoning it in. Understandably so. I would be doing the same thing if I was cast in this movie. But it's beyond frustrating because it just had to focus on the romance between him and this girl that you don't care about. They meet for like 3 seconds at a prison. The whole entrance scene doesn't make any sense. So they meet at a prison, and then all of a sudden they're like loving each other and constantly talking to each other like, "Hey baby, if I died, would you die with me? Hey baby, if you killed yourself, I'd kill myself too, bro." Like 10 sequences on top of sequences. That's all it is, and it is completely stupid. Not to mention the way they escaped the prison. They just kind of opened a window and left. Yeah, they just kind of opened a window and left. Like, that made all the sense in the world. And then from then on, it just kind of turned to a boring action flick. There were some cool action sequences. I will give the Opera House sequence that was pretty cool. That was okay. Only aspect of the film I thought was okay because every time it decided to do something cool, it kind of just dumbed it down by starting to be boring with the overall story. So cool action sequences occasionally. The story itself does not work for me whatsoever. The writing is horrible and just kind of a kick in the nuts by naming him Eric Draven. Coming in 6th place, my most disappointed movie of the year, Joker Filet Adieu. I really wanted to love this movie. I love that first Joker film. It's one of my favorite films of all time. And then with this film, it's just really frustrating because I find the first 2 acts to be solid. They have solid ideas in here that have me invested in this movie. I was genuinely interested to see the way things went. Then we get that 3rd act, and it becomes prominently clear that Todd Phillips doesn't want to tell a story about Joker. He wants to tell a story about Arthur Fleck. He wants to tell a story about Arthur Fleck and his problems, and not a story about the Joker. The way the original Joker left off was a really interesting idea. Like, hey, I could see this tied to a different universe of Batman. I could see this tied to a Batman universe. And in this one, it just kind of, everything that's cool, everything that's interesting, they just kind of throw it out the window, and ends up just like leaving plot lines unanswered, and just kind of becoming like an art house film a little bit. Like, hey, interpret it your own way. I don't want to interpret it my own way. It's a Joker movie, and the first movie was so brilliant that I shouldn't have to interpret this one its own way. It shouldn't be as bad as the third act actually is, and it's frustrating because the first two acts were investing. I was very interested to see how it went, and then the third act just kind of turned into a waste of time. Not to mention, the final scene of the movie is Joker, Arthur Fleck himself, being stabbed to death and murdered. Kick in the nuts again, just like The Crow was to Crow fans. This was a kick in the nuts to Joker fans and Batman fans. And as one of Joker's biggest fans, I love that character. Kicked me in the nuts so hard, and I just really did not like this movie. Really weird way to kick off the top 5. We got Madam Web. This has been a horrible year for comic movies, as you can tell. Actually didn't hate this movie like I thought I was going into it. In fact, I wrote a list of jokes I was going to say during my initial review that weren't as funny because I found the movie to be entertaining. It's not good whatsoever. It's entertaining though. Whether it's with the horrible dialogue, horrible characters, horrible anything, or if it is with that villain and some actually not horrible action sequences here in the film, I found the film to be partway investing. I found it to be interesting, and it kept it entertained me. And going into a movie that I thought was going to be worse than Morbius, managed to entertain me and not be a boring drag. Does that mean it's good? No. Problem number 1, the script sucks. It's constantly trying to find ways to tie it to Spider-Man. Like, Madam Web goes to a birthday party for Mary Parker, or not a birthday party, but a baby shower for Mary Parker. She's having a kid. It starts with a P. Can you guess what the kid's name is? Don't worry, you don't have to. It's Peter, because the balloon pops right at the moment they're about to say Peter. There's a line in this movie. Hey, Ben, have you ever been shot in Queens before? Or, are you telling me you've never been shot in Queens? Who did they say that to? Nobody else but Ben Parker, Uncle Ben, who's murdered in Queens. What a absolute genius writing here. Number 2, the ADR is horrible. I mean, numerous times it's noticeably bad, especially in that third act. And number 3, cast has no chemistry. I mean, you got Sydney Sweeney, Isabella Merced, Dakota Johnson. Who else is in this movie? I can't remember. It's not very good because nobody has any chemistry whatsoever with each other. And it's just kind of a laugh out loud movie. It's entertaining because it's laugh out loud. Will I ever watch it again? Probably not. But in that theater, with my brother, with my family, laughed out loud at a couple of scenes, and it wasn't boring. And when I say movie not boring, that's the best thing I could say about this movie. Number 4, Transformers 1, another pretty huge disappointing movie for me. Not to say that's bad at all. It is good. There are aspects in this film I like. I like the action sequences in this film. I like Megatron's downfall. I like the overall twist of who the actual villain was. Plenty of things to like in this film. And then they decide to kind of butcher Optimus Prime. Where when I want to see a Transformers movie, I want to see Optimus Prime be the big leader of the Autobots, not be an irresponsible teenager until he becomes the leader of the Autobots. When he becomes leader of the Autobots, that's great, but I couldn't help but feel that this was just kind of a different kind of movie that didn't really work for me. It kind of felt a little bit like a Nickelodeon original. Something like that, where I didn't feel like the animation was that good. The characters were making dumb jokes. But as the movie goes on, there are aspects I really love about this movie, and that's what makes this worthwhile. Aspects that I really do like about this film. And then we get the characters, and the animation, and the jokes they're kind of saying. And it just kind of makes it feel like... You guys remember that Transformers Prime show? Like, be dropped straight on Netflix or straight on a DirecTV channel? That's really what this movie kind of felt like to me. That a lot of people love this film. It's good. It's enjoyable. There's aspects that I don't like, but it has its moments in here. But then you get the, where everybody's saying that there's sequences that rival What's Up Danger and Into the Spider-Verse. There's none of that whatsoever in this film. There's really not a single sequence that rivals that whatsoever. And so maybe I need to give it another rewatch, but I left the theater pretty disappointed, which is weird because I liked the movie overall. Still aspects I liked. There were aspects that made it feel like a Netflix original, something like that I didn't like. But there are aspects in here that I did find likable. And so if they can kind of fix that later on, I feel like this movie would really work for me, but they didn't fix any of that, and it just felt really frustrating to me. Before I tell you my top three, make sure to subscribe, like button, hit the bell, comment below again what is your ranking of it, and stay tuned for the best and worst video coming soon, and then the live stream coming very soon. I also am going to an early screening. My first early screening that's not a Marcus Mystery movie, and it is for Better Man, so stay tuned for a Better Man review coming later this week as well. My first movie review of 2025. 3, Kraven the Hunter. I haven't talked about it a lot, but I have seen it twice in the theater. The first time was when I did my initial review that I really enjoyed it. Then I saw it a couple Sundays ago with my family because they wanted to go see a movie, and this is what they agreed upon. So I saw it again, liked it significantly less than I did that first time. Not to say that it was a great movie the first time, but just that I found it entertaining. I think the second time I noticed a lot of the flaws that this movie does have, because this movie does definitely have quite a few flaws in here. ADR is even worse than Madam Web. I don't know how that's possible, but it's possible. The story doesn't really kick in the first until 45 minutes into the movie, which makes the first 45 minutes kind of boring. When the story does kick in, when we have those rated R really cool action sequences, I do still really like that aspect. Not to say that I didn't like this movie, because I still enjoyed it enough when I saw it in the theater again. But, I mean, it has terrible dialogue as well. There's this one sequence that I died laughing in the theater, where, speaking of Rhino, he looks god-awful in this movie. But I think the reason that I really do enjoy this film still is the rated R action. When there's rated R action, when there's people getting messed up in film, it's just always something I enjoy. And I did enjoy watching that. So even though I liked it significantly less the second time I watched it, even though there were some major problems with the film, I still thought that there were definitely some aspects I did really enjoy. My runner-up for favorite comic book movie of 2024, and as we have been talking about, there has been horrible year for comic book films. I mean, there's only really one that I would really say is great. Number 2, Venom: The Last Dance, and this is my favorite out of all the Sony movies. I'd say this one's good. Now, where it's on this list, where I'd say Kraven the Hunter is okay, below that, I'd also say Transformers 1 is okay. The rest of the movies I'd go as far to say are bad movies. This one is where we start delving into good territory. Not a good sign, because it's my number 2. But for this movie, everything I want in this Venom franchise, the only thing I want is that chemistry between Venom and Tom Hardy. And this is a film where they don't separate at all the entire movie. This is the film where I laughed the most because their chemistry was funny. This is a movie where I actually felt some heartfelt moments in here with Venom's, well, the movie's been out for a while, Venom's death at the end of the movie. So there were aspects in here that I really liked. Really liked a lot of things out of this movie, and I was really entertained. Even that third act was great. I'd go as far to say it's great, where we haven't got such cool stuff like that in the Venom movies, where like everyone's turning into a symbiote. It's going crazy. It's symbiote heavy. It's awesome. And for the Venom villain, the whatever you want to call them, the Sony Villainverse movies, where this one is not a great film at all. It's got its flaws. This is the one that I would enjoy the most, and the one that I would go back and rewatch way more than the other ones, which is weird because I said Kraven was a couple weeks ago. Anywho, with this film, I think the big flaw is Noel, where you introduce him, but you don't do anything with him. And because this franchise is ending, because this was the last Venom movie, The Last Dance, it's very frustrating that a villain as cool as Noel can be is just like not utilized at all. Like, whoa. I wanted to see a lot more of Noel, and he's not utilized whatsoever. And then still, just like any Sony Spider-Man villain-verse movie, there's script issues. There's one literal sequence where Venom suits up. He can't go full Venom mode, but he does this one time so he can dance with Mrs. Chen. Can't go full Venom mode when he's attacked. Can't go full Venom mode when he's about to die. But he can sure go full Venom mode to dance with Mrs. Chen. It's stupid, but I still did really enjoy this film. Easily, though, the best comic book movie of 2024, and this is by far, like, there's not even any competition whatsoever. I'm going with Deadpool and Wolverine. This movie is really great. I saw it 3 times on theater, thoroughly enjoyed it each time, watched it a 4th time on 4K on my birthday, found it be really enjoyable as well. The thing that works most for this movie is that it's able to just be a farewell to Fox Studios. Those versions of the X-Men movies, or of Marvel movies, like farewell to the X-Men, farewell to the Fantastic Four, farewell to Elektra, to the Channing Tatum Gambit movie that we never got. I love Gambit, and so I was cheering when we got all of these cameos. Just sitting in my seat the first time, cheering. Even the second or third time, cheering. Even at home, wasn't cheering because I didn't want to wake anybody up. So close to cheering because this movie is just awesome. The cameos are awesome. It is hilarious. Hugh Jackman returns to Wolverine as a very different Wolverine than the original, but he's also great and he bounces off Ryan Reynolds' character perfectly. The villain in the plot is definitely weak when it gets to like the aspect of that. I definitely found it to be much weaker than the rest of the film. But with the Deadpool movies, it's got the heart that all the other Deadpool movies do. It's got great moments in here. And overall, it's just a film I really loved. It's in my top 10 of the year. And it's really the only comic book movie of 2024 that I could say is really, really, really great and awesome. It's been a horrible year for comic book films, but tell me, what is your ranking down below? And what do you think of all the movies in that ranking? Stay tuned for the best and worst movies of the year. The live stream ranking that I'm going to do, and then a Better Man review after I go see it on Wednesday for my first ever early screening. Can't wait for that. With that said, subscribe, join our army. Peace out.